Hello everyone, welcome to the next session on ABAP on HANA. In the last class, we have talked about virtual data model in S4 HANA with CDS views. Towards the end of the class, we were trying to create a couple of virtual data model CDS views, and we saw that there was some problem in our CDS views. We will resolve the problem and proceed with our CDS views and analytical queries. Today, we will also see how to build an end-to-end Fiori application using annotations of UI related annotations in CDS views, and then we will look at full text search in SAP ABAP on HANA. So how can HANA full text search capability helps you to simplify or enable extensive search on the data. What is the VDM model in CDS view? So virtual data model. The purpose is to enable UI annotations. With the help of that, you can quickly create your UI programs like Fiori application, or you can also use these VDM to define what type of data this CDS view is exposing. So your consumption tools like analytical query tools, which we'll look at today, Fiori apps, your BOPF framework, or FPM in WebDintro, they all know CDS views now with ABAP on HANA. So to tell these people, different people, that we want to clearly define that this CDS view is for this purpose. That's why we use VDM data model definition. But it's again an indication of what kind of data you are sharing. But still, there are more annotations, especially the UI annotation, which makes the magic happen. And that's what we will be looking at today in our today's class. So let's get started. I'll share my screen, and let me first quickly connect to our gateway, our remote system, so that I can change the IP address into our CAL machine, so that it can also have a connection well to our web IDE, which we had set it up by far. So let me just go to my CAL server once, to the remote connection, and in that we will launch the cloud connector and update this Linux external IP address of our gateway server, of our SAP front-end server, or our ABAP application server. So that's one important setting which we have to typically do it every time I restart my CAL server, or suspend and reactivate my CAL server. The IP address changes, so your cloud connector would now lost kind of the reference to it. So that's the reason we have to do it. So I come back and just launch cloud connector and go to browser and quickly update the IP address, latest IP address of our SAP system into the cloud connector, so my web IDE can then probably go ahead and connect to it very well. So that's one important activity. Every time you restart, you have to do it. So I will come to Cloud Connector, go inside and just update the IP address of my SAP application server. And you remember we are working behind a proxy, which is a virtual host from SAP Web IDE in the SAP Cloud Platform. So because of that reason, you are kind of isolated from this IP address when connecting from SAP Web IDE in HCP, because your virtual host is the single point of contact for all your consumption purpose. And here in the cloud connector is where you have an IP address contact to your backend system. So I just update it here, the IP address, and since I just started my CAL server hardly 2-3 minutes back, probably this connection will fail, because after your CAL server restarts, it takes a little bit of time, about 10 to 15 minutes, for your SAP services to get activated and to get started your SAP application server. Yeah, so maybe still, if you're lucky, then by now it would have already got started. Yes, it's reachable, so which means my SEP logon can also connect to my SAP system with this IP address now. So this is one part which is important if you are restarting your server and going to connect this from SAP Web IDE to build your Fiori app later point of time after you restart. Yeah, sometimes if you miss this, then you will say, oh, suddenly my OData service response stop coming in HCP, or I am unable to look at the services in HCP in my Web IDE. These problems will arise. So that's one activity you have to do as bare minimum to begin with. And let me just close this and also update this quickly in my SEP logon, this new IP address. And yes, of course, and then come to my ABAP on Eclipse and quickly add a new ABAP project, ABAP on HANA next. Just provide my credentials, and we would again get ready to get started with VDM model and CDS view. So last session I was creating a basic CDS view and interface view with VDM. So let me quickly go to that: core data services, data definition, and I think all our CDS views we were creating here. You can see one was product text, products, and Bupa. So these were the ones which we were creating. So I will go to product texts just to repeat once again. So we had started one CDS view with product text, exposing the text data. And then later point of time, I had joined it with my product view. I had also created a business partner view, which exposes the data for business partner. And also the association concept which we learned earlier, it also exposed the address data of business partner. And then we were building this product view where we were kind of not able to get the data. So let me execute this and you would still see now it's working. The reason is very simple. I had joined incorrect keys here into it. So if you see this description ID and node key, I joined it incorrect on that day. So I had corrected it now. So the description ID of my product text table should join with the node key node key of product text table should join with the description ID. And that's what I missed it last time, and because of that it was not working. So now it's working fine. So if I just execute and you see it's giving me the data of every product key, the product category, supplier ID, and description ID. And I right click and just follow association and look at the text information, but this one is still not working. The reason is pretty simple. I think in the product text table it's not the node key field. It's called product ID field, which has to have a connection to my product ID, which is, you can see description ID here. I marked it as a description GUID. So that's the right join condition to get the associated data. Now I've corrected, and also we are just hard coded the language as English. You can also change this to $session. This is one thing which we learned in the past, and then you can also hard code it. At runtime, system language will be supplied to this language field, of course, at runtime. Yeah, this is something which you can leverage, you can use for passing the language value. So when you're connecting from your ABAP system to SAP, this is basically ABAP on HANA only. So you are in the ABAP system. So the current system language key will be passed as a parameter to your CDS view. Yeah, so this will be pretty helpful for you, pretty handy to pass the language value. You can also go ahead and remove this language for the time being, because you would also probably would like to use it later point of time by a consumption view on top of it. So I can exclude it for the time being. I can again activate and execute it. So you would still see data coming up from the text table for all the languages. And this was also not working in the last class because of join condition was incorrect. Okay, so that was the situation. So now I will show you this language. I didn't put it here hard coded or anything value, but I will show you consuming the language value or passing the language value later point of time on a view on view. So when we create a view on top of this products view, that time I will show you how can you pass the language value. Okay, so that is also another technique which you will learn with this. Okay, so park your questions for time being. Let me complete my discussion, otherwise we will not be able to finish it on time. There are a lot to cover today. I need to be focused, and then later on hopefully your questions will be answered by end of the session. Great. So this is my products view now ready. On top of this products view, now I'm going to create first time a cube type of view. So you learned three types of views in S4 HANA. First is a basic interface view. Second view is called a composite view, which is built for your analytical query later point of time. So this composite view is basically joining a fact table with the master tables, and here is your interface view or a basic view which indicates your master data. All is your master data now, product master data and supplier master data. This is what is going to join now with the fact table with which we will build a consumption view, a composite view. So let's get started. Right click, new data definition. Same naming convention we will be following, ZCDS underscore consumption CO, and then I'm going to create a view for, let's say, sales data. So I'm going to join my sales table. So this is my sales data. It's basically a composite view. It's a cube type, and it's a fact, basically joining with the fact. Yes, we will do a session of about 3 hours today. There is a lot of interesting topics in today's class. Yeah, so that with that, I think we will beat the time. Earlier I were anticipated to finish the course in 40 hours. We will be kind of taking 51 hours of total time for this course, because I have involved SAP S4 HANA concepts here. Earlier my plan was not to do that, but since I saw there is a huge demand in the market with S4 HANA CDS modeling, I thought of including S4 HANA topics in this course, which you are getting anyways complimentary along with the BAP on HANA. So let's define this. I'm going to use an association. Okay, so again, it's a cube now. This time the medium type will be a cube data, and now you can see it's creating a sales view. And then let me define a couple of annotations quickly on the top. So first is we had already this compare filter option. I'm removing it. Authorization checks, I'm saying not required. Then I'm just also giving the name ZE underscore V underscore sales. Let's say this is this is DDQ name. Then I will define some couple of annotations first for analytics. So analytics annotation, and in this case the analytics data category is going to be of type cube, because I'm going to join a fact table. Then I will also tell my analytic tools that analytic queries or analytical tools can extract the data from this view. So I'm going to enable that. So I will say data extraction enabled equals to true for my analytical tools and queries to be able to extract the data from this. So that's what I enabled as true. And let me give also the object medium type. So let's give the medium type as medium view type, and just gonna do control space, and let's mark it as a composite view, as we are doing it is with a fact table this time. And now my first source of data is going to be my items table from the sales order. So it is going to be sales order items table snwd underscore sales order underscore I. That's the item table for sales order items, and I will mark it as a sales as an alias name. And then what I will do is I will define an association with my dimension, and that dimension is actually here. So you see this is our dimension view, which is representing the product data. And let me just give the name for this as underscore products dimension. And then I'm going to do a next association with sales order table. But before that, let's define the join condition between them. So join condition between sales and products is now sales dot what is the field which I am going to use. But typically in an association we will give here dollar projection, right? So let me just pick it up the field from the data set. Okay, again annotation is anyways for on condition is given here. So let's pick it up the field name. So first of all, let's expose this annotation here, and also pick up the field name. So it's the product ID. So I will use sales dot, there will be a product GUID or product ID. Let me search in my sales, it's product GUID, and I will just alias it as, let's say, product ID. And then to define the join condition, I use dollar projection, and then use this product ID, and then association name from products table. I'm gonna use a key of the product table, and I think this is what was our key in from the product key. This was the key of my product CDS view. Yeah, so this is first join between product items table and the product dimension. So let's quickly have a look at the data. Now you'll see sales order data joined with the product information. And let me just also pick a couple of properties. Let's say sales order item, and so let me just come down. I'll pick it up sales order um, item position as item pos, and I'll just also pick sales dot order ID. Do I have order ID? No, order ID is there in my parent table of the sales item. So which is sales header, order header table, we have the order order ID, which we will pick it up from there. But let's pick it up the node key as a key field. The primary node key of this table is going to be acting like a key for my CDS view in this case. So let's take it as an item key. Yeah. So let me take it as an item key, and this is going to be my semantic key, most significant which key field which identify this particular CDS view records uniquely. So I will also define that as my representative key of my model. So just go to object model annotation and just define the representative key for this as here. So let me just do that, item key, and save this. So, and let's have a quick data preview now over here. So let's activate this, and we will have a quick data preview of first fact with the dimension now. So let's execute it. I press F8 and it's going to give me a nice data preview. So you can see now for a given sales order, this is an item. Now you will see for this sales order, this is an item position and there's a product ID. I can right click and follow the association now and get the product information, which product was sold in this sales order item. Yeah, pretty nice, amazing thing. So make it more intuitive, make it big. We will have now an association with my sales order header table as well, because I would probably need to know the sales order number as well, what was sold, what was the sales order number, and also the business partner who purchased the sales order, right? Later point of time we can join it with the bupa. So let's come here and define our second association of one, and then this association is going to be with my sales order header table, snwd underscore so table, and I will name this association as underscore sales data. Okay, so that's my association name, and then of course just meet here the join condition. So we will, what is the join condition in this case? So what is that? We will select here from my sales table, which is items table, and I think there will be some kind of sales order ID or field which will help me to define association between them on an order ID or something. So let's see in the items table which key connects to my sales order header table. So let me just check that. So node key is the node key of the item itself, and then item position, yes, I think the parent key field, this is going to connect the items table with the sales order table. So parent key, and I will just give an alias to this as, let's say, order ID. Yeah, so let me just give that, and so then join condition becomes easy. Dollar projection, what am I selecting is order ID, and that goes and connects with my underscore sales, my sales order header table, and in this of course I have a node key. So this is the technical join condition now I have between my sales and the items. Yeah, now you see it's giving me a warning that the sales association, you have defined it, you have defined the join, but you're not using anywhere. None of the field is exposed, neither it is being used. So it's pretty easy. You of course have to have now an exposed association for underscore sales data. So I'm exposing the association of the sales data. Pretty easy. Yeah, so let's pick couple of more fields in this table now. So what I will pick it up as product ID, currency code, gross amount. So let me pick it up those fields from my items table. So I'll use sales dot gross amount, then sales dot currency control space currency code, sales dot net amount, and then I can also pick sales dot, let's say, tax amount. Yeah. Yeah, these are all the fields. And then of course for currency and amount fields, let's define quickly the annotations at the rate of semantic annotations. So I use semantic annotation, and since this is a gross amount, I am going to define it as a semantics dot as a number, semantics dot amount, I think. Yes, amount equals to, inside this now we just put control space, and what will be the currency code for this amount field now. So let's define a notation for currency code, semantics dot currency code equals to true, and this field I'll just give an alias name, my currency code, and let's define this as a currency code for my amount field. Similarly, same annotation we'll use for net amount and tax amount. just a semantic annotations. And now time for marking fields as a measure. So as you all know that out of these properties, some fields will be marked as a measure and some field will be marked as a as a attribute. So if you don't give anything, by default every field will be considered as a attribute. But if you want a field, certain field to be marked as a measure, then you have to give another annotation called aggregation, at the rate of aggregation. So let me just make my gross amount as an at the rate of aggregation. Okay, so at the rate of aggregation. Oops, I don't see that annotation here in my current NetWeaver. I think I'm on a lower version of 7.5 even, so I don't see these annotations over here to mark it as a measure, as you know, aggregated. But default aggregation, defining default aggregation for this field, I don't see an annotation directly called aggregation over here. So let me just skip this particular step and save this over here, and then we are good with a composite view, which is combining a fact table with the transaction table. Now how will you test this? Okay, after creating such an aggregation, after creating such a composite view, there has to be a way. So this was also one question in the last session by one of you: how can we test these views directly from above system? So I will show you now. Let me activate this composite view. We can definitely do a F8 here and see the data, but I want to now test aggregation. So I want to test the total gross amount per customer, per order, or let's say per product, how much that product have sold. So these kind of analytics I want to do it. So how that is possible in ABAP system directly. So in ABAP system, let me connect to our ABAP system. There is a transaction code called RSRTS ODP DIS to test your analytical queries or analytical models directly into SAP system. So let me just go to it, and that's your first analytical tool presenting here. Using this analytical tool, you can definitely test your CDS, and before you really give it into the hands of consumers. So developer and my password, and let me go to transaction code to test this CDS view. So I will type here. I will also put this transaction code in our PPT. So let me put before we just let's RSRTS. Let me see underscore ODP underscore DIS. Press enter. And since I'm starting it for the first time, it's taking a little bit of time. In the meantime, let me put it over here in our PPT. So just come here and yeah, let's put T code to test CDS and RSRTS underscore ODP underscore DIS. This is the T code for testing our CDS. So now come here, you can see the default context is an ABAP core data service itself, and now you can just pick it up your CDS view name. So it's here, and just press F4, and then of course you have to basically test it as a query. So just search your CDS view in this, and you can see here you find your CDS view name, created sales data composite view queue fact category. Just double click here and just execute to test your composite view. So now here it gives you a screen showcasing what is data, what has been picked up as a data, basically the attributes, and what has been picked as a measures. So you see it automatically identifies the fields which are numeric type, having a currency associated to them, because we have defined them as a number, as amount, and associated the currency field also with them. Those fields have been automatically identified as measures. Yeah, so now we can just click on standard query button, and then you will see in a minute it automatically tests this test an analytical query on top of it. Yeah, so let's see. In the meantime, I'll also come. I could have showed you this feature of aggregation, but unfortunately the annotation is not available in this system. In fact, there are many problems with this cal system which I identified. Let me just see if I can find some uh, uh, annotation for indicating it as a measure directly with an aggregation property or something. Let me see. analytics, analytic details, planning, disaggregation, planning enable, planning, query access, display hierarchy, formula. Let me try this. No, formula will not help. So it was directly called aggregation annotation, which I don't see it now. Analytics, details, dot. I don't see it here. I see planning one, but I'm not sure if this would help me. No, I don't see there's an annotation for aggregation here in this system at this default aggregation. Okay, so somebody is saying there is something called default aggregation. Let me try that. I think at the rate of default. Yes, very good. Thank you. And yes, now I can see the list of annotations which I can use to define this as a measure. So let me mark for text amount a max query to identify this as a aggregation. Default aggregation is maximum. And for net amount, I'll say at the rate of default aggregation as minimum. Very good. And then also for gross amount, I will mention it as a default aggregation as sum. Perfect. We are done. Save this. Let's activate. And now by default, you will see the category would change. So let me just go back. And you see right now they are saying not included. Ideally, now these three fields should come in key figures because they are identified as a measure by your analytical query. So let me try now once again. I had activated my CDS view. Now you can't test it directly in ADT. You have to come back to this transaction code and then use your view and just click on execute. And now you see now these three fields are being included in key figures because we have given a default aggregation for these three annotations, and that's the reason why they are now part of figures default. And now if you execute, system is going to do an aggregation on these fields based on what you define. It's going to total up the value for gross amount based on whatever columns you select. It's also going to find out in the records the minimum net amount and maximum tax amount for the set of records which you will aggregate. And you see system has now identified the gross amount as total. This is the total sales, guys, for all the products by all customers, purchasers, with all currencies, with all values. And now here this is the maximum net amount, and this is the this is the minimum net amount for a single product whatever was there in the list, and then this is the maximum tax amount for an entry which it is found in the sales order items table. Now what I interestingly you can do here is you can include any field in as a row or as a column. Yeah, so let me show you including something as a row, but now you see all are node keys. There is nothing interesting for me to include as a characteristics or as a row, so I have to mark a couple of properties in our CDS view as rows. So let me just go back and do that. So what I will do is maybe I will just come here and use at the rate of analytical query and make it as a row. So I have to now define that what could possibly be acting like what could possibly act like a row for my analytical query. Yeah, so in the test tool we will be able to define now analytical details, query access, and some of the properties we have to mark it as row. So let me just do that. Query, and there is an access attribute, and then I can say here row, and let me make one of the property, let's say products, and dot, and then I will use, let's say, product ID as a row in my analytical query. So this will now identify that product ID could act like a row for the system. Now why it's giving me an error? Name product ID is not unique. Okay, I have used this name here, product guide over here, so maybe I just say product uh, uh, tech id. Okay, technical product id, and let me also choose some more attributes, guys. So maybe I will use another attribute. So as a row probably. So let me just again use the same annotation to define it as a row, products dot, and I will use, let's say, product category. Do we have it? No, we don't have product. Yes, we do have product category also as a row for my analytical query. So I have added now, guys, these things. Okay, now this has to be product ID, but alias name should be different. Okay, so I'll say product tech ID, and this one as category. Watch carefully now what will happen when you do this. Now system will allow you to create an analytical query these two attributes as a row. So by default, just now if I show you once again, you see there is no rows available for you to group this data. Okay, for you to group this data, there is no rows available. Similarly, I want to also let's say use company name. So let me just here use another time annotation for rows, and then I will use it here as sales dot, and let me use a property from the sales view. Let's say I want to use the buyer guide probably. Yeah, so this one I want to use it as an row also. Save this, everything looks good. Let's activate this and rerun the analytical tool to see what changes it will bring in into now. So typically these properties what we are marking, we mark them into our final consumption view, but I'm just showing it here doing in this. Now you see it's giving me an error that it's only supported with annotation query equals to true. So we have forgot one important annotation that our view can be used by analytical tools or not. So that is an annotation at the view level. We missed it. So I have to now say at the rate of analytics and data extraction property. Last time we saw that, and this should be marked as enabled equals to true. And when I save this now, okay, now you see the error from the bottom is gone, but there's another error it's showing here. Annotation name, this is used multiple times. Why? Okay, it's used already here. Exposing it's already done. Now why it's giving me an error? Let me check. Let me just do a check here and see if it still gives me the error, and if not, then let's activate the view. Yeah, it got activated, but still the error is there. So it says the access level is only supported with annotation analytical query equals to true. So there is one annotation we are missing, that this should be an analytical query. So let me come here and see. Let me just put that annotation here. That's it's in query equals to true property. So that one I missed it. So I will include this here. Save it. Typically this should be included in your final consumption view, but I'm just doing it in our composite view just for testing purpose. And now you see it allowed me to activate, and now it gives me another error saying that the category is cube type. That should not be the right category. So we can just change it to now as a fact, and let's activate this one more time. And now you see, oops, it's saying change it to none. Let me change it to none then, or let's see which is the right category it accepts, because I have made it as an analytical query now. Okay, it's not even accepting anything. Let me remove this property and activate it. Great. Now there is another problem in our CDS view. So it says error reading info provider for CDS. Oops, multiple errors. Error reading info provider. Okay, now it expecting the sales order item also, guys, as a CDS view, but that's not the case. This is directly a database table now, which it is not allowing. So let me somehow kind of adjust this back to the data category and make it as a cube, because I can join a transaction table with master and come down. What has caused this problem? Analytical details query equal to row access. This has caused the problem. Ideally it should have worked, but anyways, we will now what we will do, we will create another view on top of it as a consumption view, and in that we will mark it as a row. Okay, so right now let's remove it from here, and I'll just remove it. So because it is not allowing me, and I will create now a consumption view on top of this. So let me remove this also and activate it. And then I will show you creating a consumption view, and on top of this view, and that view we will use it again in our analytical tool to test it. Okay, so this one I have removed it now. Let me go back and create another CDS view as final consumption view. And in that consumption view, we will be consuming this particular view. Okay, so let's go back and create a new CDS view as a final consumption view, which we will again use in our analytical to query tools. So once again, same naming convention, ZCDS underscore consumption view. It's of with underscore C now this time, and I say sales data. So this is going to be my consumption view for analytical query tools. This is what your tools will consume at the end, and I just say finish. In this again, I'm going to use the composite view, because you remember the definition of composite view in S4. It's a view in the middle of between actual interface views and your analytical queries. Yeah, so this is what your analytical queries will always hit. So now we will create this consumption view, and in this consumption view I will be using our existing composite view which we have used here. So let's go ahead and do that. Before that, couple of important annotations we will be using, and these annotations are marking this view as VDM of consumption type. So let's come back, and I will just remove this one and make it as not required, no authorization check at the moment, and just give a view name ZE underscore V underscore sales Q, and I will come here and put at the rate of VDM view type, and this is going to be my final consumption view at the rate of, then analytical query tools should be able to consume it. So analytical dot query equals to true. That is what also important, so that your analytical tools can start consuming it. And then also later point of time we will publish this as an OData service in our gateway system. And now what we will do to create this CDS view, we will make use of our existing view which we have it here. And in this now I will also show you passing the language value for our products. How can we pass the language value for our products? So for that we will be creating this view as with parameters. Okay, so let's copy the view name, CDS view name, which is a composite view. Select from the composite view, and then also define with parameters. So let's come here and define a language parameter. So with parameters, and define a language parameter. So I will say p underscore language of type abap.lang, and then also I will pass at the rate of environment variable system field and pass the value as my current system language should be passed in this parameter by default. I will say consumption of this should not be enabled, so I will say consumption, and I'll say nobody who is consuming this particular consumption view should be able to pass the value. This should be defaulted automatically to the login language. So consumption dot hidden property, we have to mark it as true, so that it will not be available or visible to the external tools. Yeah, and it's giving me a warning because right now this parameter is not used anywhere. Yeah, so we will be using this parameter. Now this parameter should be passed into my composite view, and in my composite view here also I have to now create a parameter and map it with the language key to which is going to the products view. Yeah, so how can we do that? That is also pretty simple. We can simply pass this create another parameter in our composite view, and that parameter will be mapped to the association. So when you are passing or mapping with the products view, that time you're creating an association, and in that association we will pass this parameter view. So let's go ahead and do that. So in our consumption view, sorry, in composite view, I will be passing the association parameter when I'm defining this association or when I'm reading the product text. So let me expose the product text. So right now you see I have not yet exposed the product text at all. So I will, when I'm exposing the product text dot product, text association and dot, and I will now consume the product text. Put comma, save this, and you see it's giving me a warning, and the warning says that it can influence the cardinality, because now in the product text table we had considered two fields. One is the product ID for the join, another was the language field. So if you want to pass the correct value, you also have to just say association 1 colon, and the field name, language was the field name which was we were using over there, equals to dollar parameter dot, and I will define a language parameter in this view first of all, in my consumption sorry, composite view. So let me just do that here with this, with parameters, and then with parameter this as abap dot language. So that's how you pass the value from the top view to the language field whenever there is a text join done in the bottom in your dimension. Okay, so I save this, looks like all good, and you see the warning goes off. So I save this, and now it will ask you the language value field. Okay, so that if I execute this, it will ask me the language value field, and you see, so if you are using different language and you want to get rid of the data from your final dimension in different language, you can of course pass that. So I pass E, and now you see it's giving me the data, and also I am getting the text value over here. Yeah, so I'm properly getting the text values. So let's go back, and since we are consuming it here, we have to now also pass this value from this parameter to our consumption. So select from this view, and in this view we already have a parameter, so do control space, and I say language parameter value which I'm using over there, I will be passing from my current view, and in the current view this is not exposed outside, this is passed by a system variable. Yeah, so I will use this colon, and I say dollar parameter. So let me just do dollar parameter, and then I have a parameter here called language which I will passing to this internal view. Yeah, so once this is done, we don't need any association, this is just a consumption view built on top of your existing view. So now you can define the properties one by one, all the properties which you need. So I need order ID, product ID, and item key. So I can do control space, and I can also insert everything whatever is there from the internal view. So everything got available, and I can now mark some of the property as a key. So in this I did not mark anything as a key, let me mark here this as a key, save this, activate it, and let me mark couple of properties in my consumption view also as a key. So I will mark item key as a key, order ID as a key, item position as a key, everything I'm marking as a key, which indicates that it's an attribute. Okay, and something which is not an attribute, I can decide and give a default aggregation for that particular field. By the way, I have already defined the default aggregation for all my measures inside, so I don't need to do it in my consumption view. So this is a view on top of existing view. Yeah, now another interesting thing is, if there is a property which you are using, you can create with this property any selection field directly on your analytical tools. So let me show you doing that. So what I will do is, when somebody consume this view in analytical query tools, this category field should be created as a filter criteria. So I say consumption. So consumption dot filter dot selection type. So if you just come down, dot filter, consumption dot filter dot selection type, and I will say this should be a probably a single value user will be passing when somebody is querying it. And then I will also say multiple selection should not be allowed, so I say multi selection equals to false, multiple values of categories cannot be selected when somebody use this in the query. Now here is where you will define your default rows which were not working in a composite view, because now since this is marked as a consumption view, you can define the rows. So let me define the category as a rows, so that it will come up as a rows in analytical tools. So at the rate of analytical details dot, this is what is used in S4 HANA guys, query access rows. So I will use this as rows. Okay, now similarly you can also define other properties and mark them as a rows, or mark them as a column. So typically any measure which you have it, you mark it as a you mark it as a column, not as a row. Okay, so let's also take some more property. Let's say I want to get the information about supplier name. Yeah, who is supplying this product, so that is has to be exposed now from your composite view. So the supplier data is can be exposed from your product association. So underscore product dot, there is a supplier association in this, and inside this you will have um, the supplier name, so business partner company name as, let's say, supplier name, and I am exposing it from my composite view, and this will now be available in my consumption view also. So let me just go back and define this as a access, a row access, analytical details dot query dot access as row. Yeah, so this one, this is defined for now. My field is supplier, alias name, supplier name. So this also I'm defining my analytical query as a row. You will see the power of this. I want to also give a filter criteria for this. So I'll say consumption. When somebody is consuming this CDS view, they should be able to see a filter criteria where they can pass the supplier information. And I will say this value could be a range of supplier they can pass. So in the consumption, the filter option, I will come back and say the values, how the value multiple selection type, and I will say it is in range. It's an interval. Yeah. So let's save this. Will not do much. We will now activate and see what impacts it has. Yeah. What impact it has. So let's activate, and now we are ready to test this consumption view with our analytical tool. So to test any consumption view directly in SAP system, you can either use the current transaction, or you can also use a different transaction. So let me just go to that transaction, and that transaction is called RSRT, that is to test an analytical query directly. And here you can choose your view name. Remember, the view name should be prefixed with 2C. Okay, it should be prefixed with 2C. So let me come down, copy the CDS view name, and this should be our consumption view name, ZCDS sales data, and just press 2C and put your view name. Press enter, and yes, it exists. And there is some error, query could not be open, gen uid is invalid. Now press enter. Okay, since it was in small letter, I guess it was causing a problem. Let me search name description 2C and this name, and I say find. Why it's not able to find? There is some problem. Let me try to make this one as capital letter, not probably small letter, our CDS view name, or could be the problem that our CDS view is not active. Let me just quickly check what's the issue and execute. Test your CDS view first of all here and pass the language value, execute. And yes, this seems to be working here, but why it's not available in my query browser? Let me see. Press F4 and just use paste it here, find it. It's not able to find. I put 2C before this, try to find it. No, it's not able to find it, guys. There's some problem. 2C, and let me just say execute. It's not able to find. Maybe I'll do one thing. I'll use this view name, and let's see if this with this it is able to find. Execute. Hopefully yes. So I think it's able to find 2C with the view name, guys. The DDIC view name. 2C prefix with 2C is prefixed with the DDIC view name. With that, it is able to find. Yeah. And now you see what we have done in annotation for a category field. If you come down for the category field, since we had used it as an interval, sorry, as a single value. Selection type was a single value. You see, it created a selection screen with category field as a single value. For company, what did we use? What did we use for company? For company, we've used interval. It automatically created an interval selection screen based on your analytical conditions. And now when you run this query, execute it, of course you can skip passing any value. It automatically created your output. Okay. No, F4 help is not possible over there. So now you see it is created these as a rows. So you had also marked your category as well as your supplier name as rows. So you see it has created them as a rows. Category and supplier name basically is company name. These are been created as a row. So for computer accessories, these are all the companies, and default aggregation for gross amount was total sum. So for this category of product, this company is supplying you this much of material. This is the total gross amount which is sold, supplied by this company in this category. What an amazing analytical query. And what was the maximum tax they charged you for any product was $3, $3.93. What is the net amount, maximum net amount, sorry, minimum net amount? It was $6.90. Yeah. So it is grouping the data. Yes, it's grouping the data based on what you defined here in your analytical query as a rows. Okay. Since you defined as a rows, it is grouping the data according to the rows definition. Okay. That's the beauty of using, you can dump this data to an Excel sheet. So this is mainly used for BW on HANA. Okay, those people who are going to work with BW, you've been given as assignment to build CDS views for your analytical tools in BW. For that reason, we use these kind of things, and that's used mainly in BW on HANA as well as S4 HANA using VDM. Okay, so this is how your query, analytical query, is built using CDS views. Can we enable F4 help on filters? Possibly yes, we should be. And let me first show you if truly our filters are working or not working. So if I just go back, execute once again, and just pass the company name as SAP, or let's say pass products as software. This tool is just for testing CDS view in ABAP system, guys. You will use Crystal reports or business object processing framework or WebDyn Pro FPM framework or other BW tools, BW and HANA tools, to actually consume this analytical query. This tool is just for testing purpose, your CDS view. Okay, it's a query monitor actually. So I pass now category as software, and watch carefully the results now when I execute and apply this filter. It will only get you the data for software. See, it filtered. Last time you saw it was giving computer accessories and all the suppliers and their total sale amount, the maximum net amount, sorry, minimum net amount of any sales item, and maximum tax amount. But now you see, and the beauty is you can also include some more things as a row or as a column. So if I include it as a column, see what happens. You see it has added another column over here in my table, and then it is giving me the detail for that. Yeah. Now if I add it as a row, so of course I have to remove it as a column, sorry, as a column, and then remove it as a row. Then it will give me in the row format. So that's what is controlled by your annotations over here. Now somebody's asking, can I have an F4 help for those fields? Will that be possible? Let me just try that if it is possible. So I just delete this query, go back and re-execute, and let me see if there is any annotation which makes it possible to enable F4 help for the values. So I come here and I say consumption filter. Other than that, I use control space. Value help, is there any? Yes, value help. And then of course I have to give, I guess, a value help name over here uh, in ABAP system, which will be used for displaying the value help. So let me see if I can find a value help in SAP system for the supplier details, business partner details. So SNWD underscore BPA table. And let me see for business partner company name, do we have any value help available in the system? So I go inside, go to further characteristics, and see, yes, we have a value help name. It's HBEPM BP name. And let me just try putting that over here, value help name, save this, and let me activate and see if by any chance this would work or not. I'm not sure, but I'm just guessing because I did not work much with annotations. I worked more with UI annotations. These annotations I've learned it from some source, so I am teaching it. So in case if you guys are working on BW on HANA, with BW ABAP on HANA, then this would be helpful. I'm more experienced in UI5 related annotations, which we will see next, to build a Fury app. Okay, so now I come back and test it quickly once again in our ABAP system, and let's execute. Hopefully we should see. No, we don't see an F4 help, so maybe I'll just quickly go back and Google this if it is possible. Show F4 help CDS annotation. Maybe we should be able to find something in analytical query. You see all S4 HANA related stuff. So this is all S4 HANA CDS annotations, guys. These are all used in S4 HANA. At the rate of object model text association. Okay, I think this association should probably help us, but I don't think so. No, no. Let's come down and value help. No. Value F4 help value, hence standard CDSI calendar is used. Default search element is true. Default search element is true is giving. This is the notation what they are offering. Okay, so let's try this. Default search element annotation at the rate search default search element annotation. So I come back for supplier name at the rate of, let's do that, search. So this is how you can learn and do it actually. Yes, enable this and save it, and we can test it now in our query tool. So there is a lot of knowledge now on internet because I opened the door for you to teach or to code your first CDS. And the moment you know how the CDS annotation are working, they are influencing things, you can definitely go ahead and apply that in your world. Because even impossible for me to tell you all annotations, I have never worked with them. Yeah, but I can find out. If you get me a query, I can definitely find out. I can Google, I can look at the blogs, I can see how annotations can be applied, and I can do it. So execute it now, and still I don't see any value help, guys. Yeah, let me type here something. No, not possible. So it's not giving me any help at all. So maybe we need to explore more this blog and see how can this enable the value help for us. So F4 help, hence CDS UI calendar is used coming separately. Okay, and you see there they enabled F4 help for vendor material year. How did they do it? They must have done something. Consumption filter mandatory false, multiple selection true, interval query display key text, analytical query display key text, default search element is true, end user label, analytical details query access as row. But how will the F4 help got enabled? What did they do? Is it done by an association annotation? Let me see. So they are using association annotation also here. See, I can see association annotation. So object foreign key association, and here they had put the association name. Let me try this one. So at the rate object model foreign key association. So come here at the rate object model foreign key association, and we will give our association name from where this data of supplier name is picked. So association was used as products. Let me try this one. If this probably brings in the F4 help for suppliers, should be, as I can see in the blog. It's giving me an error now. Of course, the error is this is not the right field for association purpose, so I don't think so this would help. For association with products was done based on product ID. So if you just go back in this view here, so here this supplier, where is supplier data? Here is the supplier data dot company name. So this is the association which was done over here. Let me try defining here at the base view. At the rate of semantic was, what was it? Field name. At the rate of consumption, analytics dot query dot access row. Object model foreign key. Object model foreign key. Foreign key association. Let me try defining it here. Supplier association. It's not even showing. Products. Let me see if it allows me. Activate. Yes, it activated the base view. And let me activate also our main view. Okay, it's giving me an error here in the main view, guys. It's not showing me where is the issue. Ranking should be somewhere high. Search annotation requires searchable for the view. I think this annotation is not is causing the issue. I messed up, guys. Thanks. Okay, maybe I need to check this. What is the possible way? Um, keep your backend version. Okay, I need to check this, guys, how to enable F4 help, probably more into it, more into the system, and then provide you the solution for that. Maybe you can also explore it, and if at all you're facing issues, you can write down an email to me. We will look at together in your system and see how can we enable. But it is possible, as you can see, I have to read through this blog to basically enable the F4 help. You can see they have enabled F4 help here. There is some way to do that. Okay, there is some way to do that. So they, since they can do it, we can also do it in these examples. Yeah, and this is all based on association. Okay, now we will move on and look at some UI annotations in the CDS view. So with the help of that, we can build the Fury app. So my intention is to now build a Fury app, which is called an analytical list page. So let me show you how an analytical list page looks like. This is how typically any analytical list page app looks like. So on the top of this app, you will have a selection criteria. This selection criteria comes with the help of UI annotation called selection field annotation. Yeah. The second area which you see is the chart area, which indicates the data in form of a chart. Yeah. And you can quickly easily switch to a different kind of chart. And the third area is your a list table. Yeah, analytical list table. Now imagine if I ask you to code such a Fury app using JavaScript, it would take a lot of time for you. But how can you build this app in seconds with the help of CDS views? Yeah, so I am not joking, it's true. With the help of CDS view, this kind of app can be built quite easily in seconds without even touching or creating any JavaScript code. So now we will go ahead and build a very simple CDS view on top of an existing CDS view provided by our system. So there is an existing CDS view interface view available called SEPM I sales order item cube, and that CDS view I will use, and I will just build a consumption view on top of that CDS view with UI annotations to define the selection fields, to define the line items of my table, to also define the data points for my chart and measures as well as dimension for my chart over here. And then we will expose that CDS as an OData service, and this would result to this kind of a Fury application. Yeah, so let's go ahead and define that CDS view, consumption CDS view, which will be used my Fury application to build an analytical list page. Now let's go ahead and do that. So I will just create a consumption view by using a standard CDS view, and this is how S4 HANA um, application delivers you the standard Fury apps, which are analytical Fury apps. So you will learn today how to build analytical Fury app on top of CDS views. You will get some flavor of it. So let's come here and define one. So Z CDS once again, and it's a consumption view, and I say for analytical query NA underscore let's say sales. So I'll say consumption view for Fury based analytical list page app, and click on next. I don't want to give any transport request, and I just want to define a simple CDS view. Now, of course, once again in S4 HANA, we will provide the different annotations, VDM annotations, to indicate that this particular CDS view is going to be used by analytical query, and also this is a consumption view. So let's say not required, and I just come here and first annotation as we do it, VDM annotation, and the view type as consumption. Then second annotation is at the rate of analytical. Data extraction should be enabled. Any analytical tools can consume the data using this CDS view. And then I will define a data source here. So I will be using an existing CDS view available in our system, SEPM underscore an interface cube view they have created, sales order item cube. Yes, this is the view. We have it, and this view by default takes a parameter. So you can see it's asking me the display currency parameter to be passed to this CDS view when it is being used. Yeah, so I will pass the currency field. So for that, I will also create a parameter into the system, or probably I pass it with a hard-coded currency, let's say euros. Okay, I think our data is in US dollar, and I'll do control space and insert all the elements, all associations, everything, whatever is there in this CDS view, and save it for time being. And let's have a quick look at data preview of this CDS view, which is built on top of an existing CDS view provided by system for EPM purpose. Activate it. Looks good, and execute. For USD currency, it should get me all the data from my product table. And if you go deep dive inside this interface view or cube data view, which is being exposed by SAP system default, you will find it's using same technique what we used to build a CDS view, by far slowly. Yeah, so now the first UI annotation which is available to define the header text. So if I just show you the screenshot one more time, you see on the top, this is the header text of your Fiori app, which you can see on the top. For that reason, and also you see for your items, what is the for multiple plural items in the table, this text, what you see, how the text will come, which annotation to use for this particular text and for these particular text. Yeah, so for these particular text, what text should be used, that comes from our first annotation, and that's a view level annotation called UI header info. So let me do that at the rate of UI dot header info, and then I can use a description property. Okay, so I can use a description property, and in this description property, or you can just use header info, and then you can use an annotation called type name. Okay, type name, and also another annotation is type plural. So what you see here, whenever there are multiple items, this header will be displayed. When there is only one item to display, this label will change to sales order item. Yeah, so that's what I'll put, type name, sales order item, and then I'll use sales order items. So that's my first annotation for defining header of my sections. Yeah, next annotation. In the next annotation, I will define a presentation variant. When my UI load for the first time, what should be displayed? Yeah, so that's called presentation variant. So when my UI loading for the first time, I want to say to the system that I want to display these three fields. Yeah, these three fields of course comes from your view, and a separate annotation should be used to mark their position as well as their labels. But I have to define initial loading when it is happening, whether I want to display the table and chart both. If yes, then I have to create a variant for that. If I just want to display a table, I have to define that this will be my initial display. That's called presentation variant. And later point of time, you will see this presentation variant. We will also give it to Fiori app when we are creating the Fiori app. So let me define a UI presentation variant, which defines the initialization of your UI. What happens when your UI initializes, that point of time, what will happen? So this presentation variant feature is available from NetWeaver SP5 onwards. That's the reason it's not displaying over here, this annotation to me in my current system. But if you are on S4 HANA system, guys, this annotation will be available to you. Okay, so currently our system is pure ABAP on HANA system. It's not even an S4 HANA system. In S4 HANA system, this variant presentation variant annotation is available. You saw, in fact, there were many annotations which is not available in our current system, and that's unfortunate to choose this as an ABAP system initially to work with ABAP on HANA. But I didn't thought that I will teach you S4 HANA annotations in our course. But since I'm doing it, I just want to inform you that this annotation available from SP5 NetWeaver also in SAP ABAP on S4 HANA systems. Okay. So since this is not a S4 system with which we are connected, this annotation is not available to us. So here you will give the ID and the presentation variant ID, whatever name you can give. You can give Anubhav. Yeah, and now you have to define what will happen initially when your UI loads. So you can define the text also for this, but other than that, main important thing which you need to define is what will be the default sort order in your table. So you see here my products are sorted based on, let's say, product category. So that's the sort order. So you can define the default sort order. So you can say sort order. Now everything is coming red because it's not a SAP S4 system, guys, and these annotations are not available for me to consume here. But I will give you the code of this particular view. If you are working in S4 projects, copy paste this view in your S4 system and build a analytical Fury app in seconds with the help of that. Yeah. So unfortunately, I will not be able to show you here, but I will give you the source code of this view to you. You can go copy paste this source code in your S4 system and try this out. Yeah, but then you must be wondering how will the output come. I will show you how the output come. Yeah, don't worry, I'll show you that output also. So now in the sort order, you can define the property based on which your a line item should be sorted. So you will give here sorting, and you can also give the direction of sorting, whether it's ascending or descending. So let's give the property name on what basis my data will be sorted. So is there any product category field? Let me see in my selected items. Yes, we have product category. So let me use the product category here for sorting, and you can see in our output also it's sorted by product category. So it's based on this sort order annotation, guys. Okay, so this is the default when application launching default setting, what should it be sorted with. Yeah, all that is done over here. Now I also say I want to group my data based on customer number. You see, there are a lot of huge number of sales items. Yeah, but I want to group the data based on customer number. I'll show you that in another screenshot. I don't see I have taken that. So if I want to group my data based on customer field, then I can also use a group by, and then I can define on what basis I want to group. So I can specify multiple fields. So right now I just want to give customer as a field. So you see here this customer field, based on this I want to group by my data when initially my app is loading. Yeah, finally you need to also specify what you want to see initially when it's loaded. Do you want to only see table, or you want to also see the chart? Yeah, if you want to also see the chart, you have to define the visualization property, that I want to visualize both the chart as well as the table. So that is comes with the visualization property, that you want to only display line item or you want to also display the chart. So let's go ahead and define that visualization annotation in the initial UI presentation mode. So I put a comma and after group by, and then let me see, is there any annotation which can work by default? Control space not working in this, so let's use visualization. I hope the visualization annotation work outside. At the rate of visualization chart, no, let me see visualization annotation. If I can find it here, I can of course show you that we can select the default visualization at the view level. UI badge, you see lot of UI annotations, and they will basically control the behavior for your view. UI header info description, that's UI header. UI VDM, let me try inside this if visualization possible. No, not chart qualifier. Chart qualifier used for different purpose. I am coming to that. Okay, I don't see it here. Let me just directly go and define it here itself, guys. So it's always server is a restriction for me to teach you many things. And in this case also, the last example which you're doing, which is quite important for you, uh, there is also a problem for me now. Unfortunately, I could not arrange such a server which has this. Even I tried some other servers, and this I could not arrange a server where I can really show you these things. So visualization, and now inside this visualization, it's basically an array, and you can now define what you want to see. So as a default visualization, I want to see both the chart as well as my line item table. So you will give the type of visualization, and you can say here as line item. Okay, if this you do it guys, then this system would will display this line item table in analytical list page. And similarly, if I also add here type equals to as chart, then system will also show you the chart section. So when you are able to copy paste this code in your S4 system, you can try removing the chart. Your chart will completely disappear. When you remove the line item, it will only show the chart in the bottom area, in the content area of your ALP, analytical list page. ALP is the short form for analytical list page. Okay, now in case you can get the server from any of your batches, could you please share the recording with us? I will do that. In fact, I will show you guys today itself. I kind of did a wrong thing today. I must confess that I went into my company system with which I'm associated right now on contract, and that company system I have gone into, and I've created this view, and then I have basically recorded a video of that complete CDS as well as the building the analytical view. And that video I will play for you to show you that these things are real and they work. Okay. Unfortunately, not in our system, but yes, I have recorded. But unfortunately, the good thing is I did not hack anything in their system, and also I'm just using demo data. None of their data is exposed to you. None of the data I am showing it to you, which is productive. So I'm not kind of cheating them, but that's again my personal honesty doesn't allow me to do it, but I thought it will be good. At the same time, I'm committed to you guys that I will show it to you in the system so you can visualize things better. Yeah, so this is the first annotation for defaulting the initial screen. How will it look like? And then let's move on down to define what will be my table data and what will be my selection field. So here in this, now I want to define product category, product ID, and consumer as my input fields, my selection fields. So for that, let's find those fields in here. So product category. So I will give a UI annotation for product category at the rate of UI, and that these annotations are anyways available here. UI dot selection field, and I say selection field annotation, and then you can give the position of that element on the screen. So my first field is category, so I will give a position equals to, and position always starts in a multiplication of 10. So 10 means first position for that particular element. Yeah, so I want my product category first, so that position is given. I can also define the label for that. So I can do control space, and then I can uh, of course give the label. So I think the label is not this one. There is another annotation called object model, and we had seen this object model text for that element, and then you can define the element and its text. So it should be product category. And there was also another annotation called end user label. So UI dot end user. What was that? Let me just check. Field group identification label. Yes, this one. And now I can give here the label. It's a product category. Yeah, so that's what I can give to define the label also from the user point of view for a given field. Now next, I can also define that this field will be displayed in my table. So table, you can see these are called line items in the table. So you can also mark at the rate of UI dot line item property, UI dot line item, and then you can say its position basically. So This is again not available here in my current system. I hope it should be, but okay, it's not. So UI line item, and then I can define the position of the line item in the system. So I can say position, and I want to show my product category as the first field in my table as well. So I'll put 10. And now you see it's kind of not showing red, but it was not giving me suggestion at that point of time when I was writing. So that's my 10. Similarly, now these properties I have to define for other fields like customer, and let's see product ID and customer. So let's go and do that. So I copy all three annotations and search for product. Here it is. Not just the association. So you remember anything starting with underscore, guys, is an association. So I want to find the real product field. So let me search. Here it is, and that is going to be my which one? Second. So product ID here in the table also, and selection field also. Order number is 2. So that's 20. And end user label is just product ID. Yeah, that's what I want. Next, we have the supplier, I think customer. So let's see customer. Here it is, and then you give the position as 30, and for this guy also as 30. Save this. We are good. So that these are all the UI annotations which we have it in the system now, which we had defined. Now let's come down, and I see nothing else is important for us at this point of time to go ahead with it. So this is it, guys. You're ready with now your CDS view, which can then be now be consumed in your Fiori app. Okay, the another interesting thing which I want to show you, in a consumption view you can calculate a formula. You can calculate a value at runtime which will be supplied to the database, and the calculation can be done. So for that you have another annotation called analytical details, um, exception aggregation steps. So exception aggregation steps, and inside this you can mark exception aggregation behavior, and I can say this new field will be calculated as a summation, and then I can say element which will be used. So exception elements, and I want to use a element called sales order. Okay, and then I will come down and also define at the rate of default aggregation as a formula now in this case, which means something, a value which is calculated at runtime based on number of sales order in the system. Okay, so as sorry, this thing come down. So a formula I am defining as sales order count. Okay, so I am defining now this thing as a sales order count. So what will happen, guys, every time it finds a sales order, okay, every time it finds a sales order, it count it as a 1, and at the end it will total those number of ones. So let's say you found 20 sales order in the line items, so it will count each sales order as 1 1 1 1 1 1 and add up all of them. That results you to a calculated value called number of sales order. This can be used now for our chart data. Okay, now to create a chart, what will you do? So I want to now show you quickly. This is a chart which I created for product category. How many products were sold per category? That's a chart. So for that you will use another UI annotations, and that should be done at the top level to define a chart in your analytical query. Now learn this only once, guys. It won't take much time later point of time for you to build a query on top of these things. It is pretty simple. You can do it quite easily without too much of effort. Yeah, so for chart, let me quickly just go to this one here, and for chart you have to use a UI chart annotation and define a chart over here. So let me take this as it is and bring it over here and show you what exactly it is doing. So this should be done again at the view level, guys. So whatever charts you want it, you have to define the chart. Okay, and after defining the chart, inside this you have to define all the multiple charts which you want on the UI. Now remember, ALP can only display one chart at a time. So I have defined one chart here, and let me define it as a donut chart. So what I'll do is I'll just get the donut chart code, not the line chart. I will show you how to enable the line chart also. So I'll get both the chart code and put it in this array. So now you see I have got a revenue by category, how much per product category I'm producing the sale, and it's a donut chart type. The dimension I'm using is a product category, which means on what basis I want to group the results. And the calculated measure number of sales order per category, sales order count, which I used here, this should be used as my measure for my donut chart. So I'll put that measure over here, number of sales order. Yeah. So that I'll put it here as an axis and data point as a true measurement attributes. Now, very important point, if you're putting a measure in your chart, that particular property, okay, this is the property, so this has to be marked as a data point with a UI annotation called data point dot data point equals to true. So this has to be marked as a data point equals to true. Data point, let me come down, let me use this. So there is a property which enables me to mark it as a data point. So that has to be marked as a data point. Data point title, data point value, data point description. Let me just check in our current CDS view, which we have it here. So I already have created one view, and in this we had marked it as a data point title. We have to give a title for the data point. So I think data point title property, yes, and this same thing I'm putting here. Now remember, this title is what you are going to use. This title, what I'm putting here, you are going to use in your chart dimension. Here in the chart dimension, you're gonna sorry, in the measure, you're gonna use that title, data point title. You will use it here in the measures. So any numeric column is simply a measure for you, and any attribute is something based on which you want to group the results. Okay, so that's my donut chart which I prepared. Okay, and that's my line chart. Right now I'm not going to use this line chart. Okay, now how will the system know that in this area a donut chart should be loaded, not this line chart? How will the system know? So you see there is a qualifier is nothing but an identifier which identifies which uniquely identifies every chart you have. And this qualifier I will use and tell the system that when your view is loading, when your page is loading, this qualifier you should use to load whatever this qualifier is, that chart should be loaded. So how do I tell that? So on the top, if you come, you can see here there is a qualifier property at the chart annotation in the visualization. This identifies now there is this particular chart should be loaded. So let's come here and put a qualifier after s chart comma qualifier equals to default. So it goes to all the charts in the chart array in this JSON. It finds the qualifier for this is customer revenue not required default. You see it finds it here, which means donut chart should be loaded in the chart area of your ALP. Yeah, that's it. We are done with definition of our CDS view. Yeah, yes, I showed you almost all the annotations used. Yeah, and I had already created one over here. Yeah, so you can see this I already created with all the annotations, end user label for my UI fields, for chart fields, what should be marked as a you can also test this in analytical queries, of course, and all the positions, all the properties. I have some even case statement expression also over here. I have data points marked for all my chart properties which I will be using, and also a formula to calculate the value at runtime. And then finally you expose this as an O data service. Yeah, so I already exposed this in OData service and registered it in my gateway. Let's use this CDS view now to build a Fiori app. So I will come down, take the CDS view, go to our SAP Web IDE in HANA Cloud Platform. So Web IDE in HANA Cloud Platform, and I'm going to use that CDS view. I will post this code as it is into our blog. You can download. You see a lot of red here there because it is not a S4 system. Okay, so let me just go to Web ID and build a Fiori app on top of it. Okay, this will give you a depth idea of how analytical list page can be created. Unfortunately, I am bound by limitations. I cannot show this live in a productive system with my company. I can only show things where I don't breach, you know, my honesty with that company with which I'm working. Okay, but unfortunately we don't have a system too, and in case in future I can arrange a system in my upcoming batches, I will definitely post this video directly on YouTube so everybody can be benefited with this. Okay, let's come back, and now I'm going to create a new Fury app. Right click on workspace, new project from template, and we will just choose here Fury elements. And you see there are these three types of apps you can build on top of a OData service of CDS view. You see the screenshot, selection criteria chart, and a table, analytical list page. Click on next, choose a project name, my ALP app, demo sales.erp. That's a namespace of Fury app. No coding, guys, zero coding. Come down, choose your system. We already connected it with HANA Cloud Connector. It should load all the OData services. Put your OData service name exposed via CDS view. Say next. And now this is the problem. You see it didn't load the annotation file from OData. Okay, I can show you that. In fact, the problem with this system. That's the problem with the system actually. I'll show you that what is not working. So I press F12 and just let everything go next. Go back again choose my service. Let me show you the problem, guys. What is happening with this system? This system is not that great system, which in fact it helped us throughout the course learning all about on HANA, but now with S4 concept it is not helping, of course. Say next, and you see if I come down to network calls, this is called annotations, and you see it gives me the response for annotations, but when I want to load actually the annotation values, okay, this will fail. So let me show you. So after going on the top, you see it's able to load annotations, but the moment I will use annotations slash dollar value, this will what will give me truly the annotation values, okay, slash dollar value. That call is failing. I press enter and you see it's giving me gateway error. So this is what is not working currently in my system. Okay, this is what is not currently working. I think it's slash annotation slash dollar value. Yeah, this one is not working. You see, request is not valid since segment annotation refers to a collection. This must be at least one segment here. Something it's giving actually. I will show you when we run the Fury app also, it will give me the same error. It's not able to read annotations from the system. There is something wrong in the server. Okay, now I come back and let me just proceed. At least it will allow me. So you see here the annotation file did not load. That is because of that reason only. Okay, now I say next, and I can just now choose my CDS view, and you see this is the qualifier name. What should be loaded by default in the content area? Do you want table to load? Do you want chart also to load? And that qualifier we already defined in our CDS view, and this is the qualifier name, initial presentation. And you see in our CDS view we defined it as Anubhav as a qualifier. You see Anubhav as a qualifier. So that is what I will pick it up and put it here, initial presentation for that, and say finish. You're done. That's it. Your view OData service makes this possible to build the app without any code. Yeah, no coding required, no JavaScript knowledge required to build such an amazing analytical app. It's done, guys. You can test it directly, run it. I run it with Sandbox. With the true OData service, it will call the OData service built on top of our CDS view with annotations. And you will see in shortly in the network, it will lead to errors because it will not be able to read dollar value for that annotation file. Basically, annotation file makes instruct the UI to do everything. And then I'll show you that video which I recorded from my internal company system, where in fact this was working seamlessly without any problem. And it will indeed work for you too when you try out things in your S4 HANA system in your company. Yeah, you will be mesmerized by this. Our main intention was to understand the annotations used to build such an ALP app, And now I just click here my ALP app and press F12 to see what is it is getting loaded. So let it continue. Yeah, I will upload the video, don't worry. In fact, it gets recorded in our video itself. So now first I'm showing this view where we will be loading the donut chart with 3 selection fields and at the bottom the products. So this will be, I will show you the video now. Let me launch the video. So how to create first your app. So ALP app creation. So let me come here and you see this is the recording of which I'm playing. Hope you are able to see the recording, guys. I played the video now. So I am now creating here the Fury app using my web IDE, and I click on next, and I now choose analytical list page next, and I give here the project name, analytical list page demo, and then I will give the title for my app basically, which will be displayed on the launch pad. Then of course we give namespace for Fury app, description for the Fury app I will give, and I click on next button. Then I will choose the service, and you see guys here, this is the annotation file. It loaded properly because all the services in this S4 system are working fine. It loaded the annotation. Yeah, and then I click on next. So I select the annotation file which is loaded from OData service properly, and then I choose my OData, basically the name of the CDS view from the drop down, and then I will give the qualifier initial presentation variant. That's it. And now I'll tell the system that I want to create a table as of type analytical table, not as a responsive table, and I just click on finish button. My Fury app gets created with the annotation file loaded from the OData service properly. So it will now create my project, and I just expand the project and show you manifest.json. Come down to manifest.json and you will see that it has created ALP, and this is your qualifier name, what should be loaded initially when you're starting the app. Yeah, so that's it. This entry, if it is available, which means everything looks fine. And you see here I'm mentioning that this is going to be your CDS entity name, and this is going to be your initial qualifier of what should be loaded initially when you start the app. Yeah, so that's what it is. And then I'm just deleting this comment and saving it, and right click and run as web app application. I will run it as with Fury Sandbox, and you will see in a second it will launch another browser window. Yes, it launched another browser window, and it will launch my Fury app. So you see it's launching my Fury app now, and in a second you will see it's loading, and let's see what happens. In a second, boom, there you go. You see it's started loading all the sections, and you see it loaded donut chart in the middle. And if I switch to the selection criteria, you will see all the 3 selection criterias which I marked with UI selection annotation, those 3 selection criteria in the same order. And wow, you see in the bottom it loaded my table. So this is my donut chart based on category. I can quickly disable the legends. I can go and change the chart type. So it's automatic, fully automatic. It sends the query to the OData service. Any kind of chart type you can switch to quite easily without too much of coding in Fury. If you would have to code in Fury, then, and you see the moment I select a product category, it loaded all the customer, and this is the grouping of customer. Now you see I selected one bar of software. It loaded only the software data for that customer. I uncheck that, and now it loads. It reloading the analytical table with all the product category data for every customer. The moment you select the bar in the category chart, it loads only that category product data for customer. But the moment unchecks it, it loads for all customer all the product data. And now you see if I expand, it shows me notebooks, pads, PDAs, every product category data. Yeah, so And if you can just enter a filter criteria in customer, it then automatically sends a query, builds an analytical query, sends it to your Fury, sorry, OData service, and that then goes to CDS view, and CDS view filters it automatically for you. You can switch also the chart type, let's say to a pie chart. And now it's also possible to just look at the chart view, not the table. So you can switch off the table. It's completely possible. And you see there are 4 different category of data this customer supplies you. And I switch to the only table view, and you see only the table is displayed, chart is gone. And I switch to only chart view, and only chart is displayed. So this is the beauty of an analytical list page. Congratulations, you have created it with your CDS view annotations, and this is what S4 HANA analytical Fury apps are. Now I'll show you some more. I had recorded another one with some more features. So I'll go back to my CDS view. You see, this is my CDS view. And in this CDS view, now what I'll do is you can see the qualifier default, which is pointing to my donut chart. I will change the qualifier to now this one as something else, and first one as default. And you look at this default qualifier, now it will create a column chart. You see, chart type is column based on customer name and quantity, how much quantity per customer it was sold. Yeah, so that is the chart which will now be defaulted. And I will also remove the, so I'm just changing the qualifier for chart. And you can see now the qualifier is still pointing to the default one, and also remove the grouping for customer. So you see here there is group by customer, and that will remove the grouping for customer in the system. So I'm searching for group, and I'll comment out this grouping for customer. So you will now see in the table, it will not group the data based on customer. I save, activate my CDS view. So you see it is activating. And then I will go back to my Fury app and refresh. So 2 things. One, the default chart, instead of donut, it should change it to a bar chart, and it should be, the dimension should be now the quantity sold per customer. And also the grouping of data per customer will go away. It will show in my table, analytical table, non-grouping of customer sale data. Yeah, so now you see it's showing me the quantity, total quantity sold, and below in the bottom you see it's gone. The grouping of data of customer based on customer is gone. And this is the beauty of building an analytical list page quite easily with the help of your CDS view. And that's what S4 HANA does. It gives you such an amazing capability to do so. You can switch the type, um, you can change the group by the lot of settings. And you see also it's printing the total of net display amount also at the bottom of the table based on your aggregation. So these are the kind of features, kind of capability it gives us with the help of CDS view annotations in S4 HANA system. Hope you like it, and believe me, it is completely possible. Please try this. I will give you the CDS view code. Go to your S4 system and try this. By the time here it's now asking me about the password. This is our thing, our server, which is of course doesn't have those annotations. So you will see in a minute, hopefully it should load the UI at least, but I will not be able to show any data because it doesn't work with the annotations which we are missing in our current ABAP on HANA system. So it's loading, and I guess it will get an error for default presentation. You can see it's getting this presentation variant error, initial presentation variant error you're getting because it's unable to find it basically. So maybe at least I'll go to manifest and I'll say don't care about presentation variant, just simply load the UI the way it is. So I go to manifest, remove this. Yeah, I'm removing it, saving it, and let's come back and refresh one more time. So at least it will load UI, but data will not be loaded, guys, because those annotations are not active in this system. It's not a S4 system. Yeah, so it's now loading something. At least I think it should load. It won't look for now that presentation variant coming out of CDS, but it should load at least the UI or something should be loaded. Let's see. Yeah, you see it's giving some error, and now you see at least the UI is loaded. You see all 3 sections. First is the search area, second is the chart area, and third is the line item area. You can go to adapt filter, and then you can basically go ahead and choose the fields based on your CDS view, what should be displayed in your you know what should be displayed in your selection criteria. Say go. Of course, no data will come up. You see these three fields, and you can also go to settings of analytical table and see what should be displayed in this basically. So say okay, and you see in the table those columns are now appearing. Yeah, you get default feature of ascending, descending, freezing. Lot of features automatically comes up with this ELP application. Yeah, so you can build it quite easily, guys, quite nicely. So of course it's not working because many of my annotations are not supported by my current system. I'm limited by system. I could have showed you machine learning example also if I would have had a right system with me. In fact, throughout the whole course, we found many use cases. Many times we felt it so difficult to work with things because of system. Yeah. So system is a issue, guys. But at least majority of the things we were able to do in the course by far. And let's move on now to another concept called text search in SAP HANA. How does the text search works in SAP HANA? So I will show you that now. Let's go back to our ABAP system. So let me show you a typical example of search helps in SAP system, what you do. So I go to SE38 and try to create a report program with product ID. Yes, fuzzy search, text search, both are same topic. I will show you that in a minute now. Let me just do that. Okay, let's go into the system and go to SE38. I want to extend the session by half an hour, guys, because I don't think so this will get covered in 5 minutes. So let's create a report program. Why demo sample search and click on create and say sample search help and just come to executable program, click on save local object I am creating. And now what I will do is, after doing that, I'll just add a simple field in my testing called parameter, and let's say PID type, and I'm going to enter SNWD underscore product underscore ID. So that's the data element for product ID in our EPM model. Activate this. So this is how typically you code any parameter in your custom programs. And you see now a search help is available. Now, can anybody tell me what are all the different ways to attach a search help to a parameter? Any ABAPer in the room? Any good ABAP knowledge in the room? Any quality ABAPer in the room? What are all the different ways to bring in this F4 help? What are all the different techniques in SAP through which the F4 help is enabled? Match code, incorrect answer. So yes, one answer I got is foreign key relationship, from where it comes. Yes, domain level, value help table at the domain level again. Then yes, attaching search help at data element level. I will tell you now more. Search help at structure level. Okay. Search help at structure level. You can attach it at a structure level. Search help to a table field. That's what the structure level is. Okay, in the table you have a tab called search help tab in SE11 through where you can put the search help name. Another way is dynamic search help, and that is coded using a special command in DynPro program, add value selection, right? Now there is also a possibility called search help exit, which you can code inside a search help. Now, can anybody tell me type of search help in ABAP? Any good ABAPer? Answer for that. Type of search helps which you create in SC11 in ABAP. Two types. What are all those? Two types. Just was testing your ABAP knowledge. Elementary and collective. Perfect answer. So these are all the different techniques, and of course in my ABAP course I have taught what is the precedence level, which takes the highest precedence when you have, let's say, all these search helps active for an element, which takes the highest precedence. that is taught in my above course. Yeah, you remember, Silpa? Good. Dynamic search help, of course, takes highest, then structure level, then foreign key level, then a data element level, whatever you had put, and then last at the domain level, and then value help level, which you have it. So these are all the different levels, the priority levels for search help. That's basically ABAP knowledge. Nothing new for us as an ABAPer. What's interesting for us now, if you come here, do an FO on this product field, and you see a nice search help, and then I click on the button, and I say description, and I say get me the products which has let's say star, screen, star. Yeah, and I click on OK, and it will find, of course, the products which has a screen inside. You see here screen is there. Now this search is case sensitive, so if I put capital screen, you will see different result. Yeah, so you see now, if I put capital screen, you see different result. So this is the biggest problem of the search help, that it is case sensitive, and also it is not fault tolerant. By any chance, if I do a mistake, I put an extra E now what will happen? Can anybody guess? Will it find the result for me? Yes or no? Is this typical search help which is attached? It won't find. It's not fault tolerant. Okay, this is biggest disadvantage of search helps, which means not a good used case. Now, this is what you can change with ABAP on HANA. Real user experience you can brought in here picture, improving your search help with text search capability of HANA system. And this is only possible with HANA system. Okay, if you're running on ABAP on HANA, then it's possible, because HANA can, you can make use of power of SAP HANA full text search. And let me show you in a minute now how that is possible. Let's go back to our HANA perspective and try out some queries in SAP HANA database to make this possible. So I switch to HANA development, HANA modeler perspective once again. We are bringing back our SQL console here to test things. So let's add a HANA system. And of course, I need the IP address now for our system. So go to properties, take the IP address from here and just come back and just put it here. 02 is the port number, HDB, or I think I can put A for H. Yeah, next, and I can just put my user. So SAP A4H is the user, same name as schema name, and just my password. And let's try to add the system back into here. So now what we will do, we will see how you can search the data in your search here, or basically in your same product text table, using text search capability in HANA. So I go to SQL, and then I'll just do a select star. Anybody in EPM model, what is the table name for product texts? Anybody? EPM model, what is the table name for product texts? Anyone? Nobody remembers? SNWD underscore text. Then what are you doing? You are not practicing then. This is the table where you have all the product texts. You can see over here, it's available. And I want to show you now something interesting. So if you go to the catalog and our schema and look at the tables, and of course look at this SNWD text tables, there's something interesting about this table. Let me just come and search for my tables. Oops, I did a mistake. Now it's going to open up all the tables, and I think it's not too much, so we can indeed have a look at this table. So there's something very interesting, and that interesting thing is called index. So to enable the full search text, full text search in the system, there has to be a special full text index which should exist at your table level. This is the prerequisite, guys. So to make use of full text search capability in SAP HANA database, for your database table, you should have a index available called full text index. Okay, so if I just now, oops, not in this perspective, right click, filter, and yes, and I'll put star SNWD underscore texts table star, click on OK, and just apply the filter. So what I'll do is I will quickly show you in the system now this particular table, and I will show you the indexes for this table. So let's come down. It should be available now. Oops, why it's opening all the list though I applied the filter? This is funny. Okay, right click again, insert the filter. So in fact, it loaded all the tables. So there has to be, the prerequisite is, again, let me repeat, there has to be a full text index available at table level. This is the prerequisite to do a full text search in SAP HANA. Okay, and this is a database feature, HANA database feature. Remember, if you're running on ABAP on HANA, that's when you can make use of this feature. It's a database specific feature. If your ABAP system runs on Sybase DB or anything else, probably you will not be able to leverage this particular feature. Okay, hope that is clear to all of you. And then SNWD underscore texts, and let me apply the filter. So there is already an index, full text index, which exists to this database table, which means we can apply query on this particular table with the full text search. Now, another interesting thing, question from our side: if I have a custom database table, can I go ahead and create a full text search index on that? Yes, you can. This is just like there's a syntax in SAP HANA to do that. If I come to indexes, you will see in a second that there will be an index which exists. You can see this is an index. It's a full text index which is available in the system. Now that's what makes it possible to enable the full text search on this database table. So how can you now check it? So let me just do this table name, select star from this table name, and then you use word called contains, and then you put parentheses and put your column name. So I want to search in the text column. What I want to search is, let's say, screen. Okay, and execute, and now you will see it will execute this full text search and gets you the result. Oops, why it's not working? There is something wrong I missed. It should be the text search text should be given in single quotes, not in double quotes. Press F8. Still some error. It's giving select star from SNWD text table. I forgot to mention schema name, and let me execute now. Still it's giving me an error. So contains, oops, I forgot where clause, guys. Where contains text column, this particular text. Execute. Now it's giving me an error again. So where contains, this is my column name, comma, my search. What am I searching for? Now it's giving me incorrect syntax. I am forgetting something. Is this what I forgot? And I have to just say execute. Yes, you can see it's working. Now still it is not able to find in the text column screen. Why? Because default this search is actually called an exact search. If it finds exactly this word called screen, that's when it's gonna give me the result as a return. Okay, otherwise not. But at least let's see if this table has some data. Execute it. Yes, we have lots of data in it, and you see none of the product has a screen into it. Okay, so let me search for something called speed. Okay, so I come here, or maybe just do a screen and capital S. Let me see, F8. It doesn't matter for text search to either see a capital S or small s. I think there is something called screen into it. Let me check. Text equals to percentage screen, and this should be, let's say, like operator. So I'm not using power of text search. I'm using like operator in the system. The column is text column. Yes, you can see there is a screen, but even my full text search is not working. That is because I think the full text index is not available. So let's create a full text index on the text column first of all, and then try to search with it. So let me put these queries one by one into the notepad. So you see this is working fine. And now when I replace this with the text search syntax contains, and then I put my column text and then put comma screen, it will not work. I press F8 and you see, okay, sorry, I have to put single quote for my search criteria. Execute, and you see it's not giving me data, which means there is that index which I showed you is not a a full text search index. Okay, so let me just do that. Create an index which is a full text search index on this table and show you how it can be persisted in database, and then apply the search query once again. So let's create index first of all. So I will use the syntax to create an index, and that's called create full text. So full text, and then I will say index, and I'll just put index name texts on the table. So what's my table name? SNWD underscore texts table, and then which column I want to include into the full text search index. And now let me show you guys something very interesting, which is 100% certification question. Fast preprocessor of, yeah, what does this syntax mean? Fast preprocessor. So now let me take an example quickly. Now let's imagine you have a database table, and that database table has three columns, three text columns, okay, where you have some text data. Now what HANA does behind the scenes to enable the text search in this database table? So let's say it has a table, and you have, let's say, some primary key and some text value, let's say text 1, text 2, and you have value 1, and I say I love India, this is my home, and then I say 2, I like Russia, it is nice place to visit. Now what I can do with SAP HANA, or I say I, it is nice place to visit, I love Romania. Yeah, so I have now a table which has two text columns. Now how does the HANA perform the search? So what I will do, my first query, if I write select, star from this table contains where, contains, and I'll say love, okay, where I say contains star, which means any of the column contains love, give me the result. What it will give? It will give me both rows. How it is possible? It is possible because what HANA does behind the scenes, any text column you have, okay, any number of text column, it creates a join of those columns, and that join is your index. So in this index, now what you will actually see is one row which is a join. So one single row which is a join of both these texts. That is what is kept inside this first row of this index, what you have it. Okay, then it will have the next row which is again a join of these two. That is what behind the scenes this text index, what am I talking, is doing. Okay, now once this is created, if you search for love, it checks first row mein love is found, second mein love is found, it returns both the rows accordingly based on index. Now to do this also, if you try in HANA capital love, L is capital, which was not working in a BAP, in HANA it will work. How it is possible for HANA to now find capital L love? Because HANA does some pre-processing to enable such searches which are case sensitive. Okay, so for that, what HANA does behind the scenes, it does two things. First, it does a normalization. In the normalization, it converts every word to a word with different capital small. So if you say love, what HANA does, it converts love to LOVE, L capital OVE, L O capital VE, L O V capital E. Like that, it is going to convert your every single word. This is what it does. This is called normalization steps in HANA. The second thing what HANA does, it does a tokenization step in which it will break down every single statement in words. This is called tokenization. Okay, so these are all the two things. Now another interesting capability of HANA. HANA can also does linguistic search. What is a linguistic search? What is the second form of nice? What is the second in English? What is the second form of nice? Anyone? No one? Okay, what is the second form of go? What is the second form of go? English. Go. What do you write in second form? Went. What is the third form? Go, went, and third form gone. Okay, these are all. Now this is language, English language. Go, went, gone. HANA can do linguistic search, which means if you are going to search in this table, and by the way, there is a go option, and if you search for went, HANA can still find that, provided you have done a proper pre-processing where it has also now can go and do a linguistic search. So that's the third step. It does a linguistic analysis of words. It's a very complex processing. Complex text search engine is built inside SAP HANA to do all these things. Linguistic analysis. So that even linguistic search can work. These three steps happens behind the scene SAP HANA. I am teaching these things because I know I worked till the database level. This much I worked it, how it is breaking it down the statements. So these are all the things which HANA does behind the scenes to do to make your text search work. Okay, and these three steps are known as pre-processing. It does a pre-processing of your data before it is creating these indexes. It does a pre-processing. Okay, so that's called pre-processing. So don't want to do this pre-processing, some of the features will not work. Okay, if you say pre-processor off, it will take less time to create index. Okay, when you do pre-processing, these are all the things which are happening now. You all know that these three things happens when you do pre-processing. So if you don't do pre-processing, what will happen, guys? What do you think? What will happen if you don't do these pre-processing? What will happen? Your linguistic search will not work. Okay, in pre-processing, the tokenization consider space as separator. Only separator is considered by space, no commas, no semicolon. It only considered by default space as a separator. Okay, it probably may not be able to convert some words in caps small. So those kind of searches will also may not work if your pre-processing is off. So but if you make pre-processing on, it is going to take little bit of time. Okay, it is going to take little bit of time, but you can do linguistic search, you can do separators with comma, you will definitely make sure that all the words can be found properly. Okay, this is what HANA does when your pre-processing is off. So that's what I'm saying, pre-processor off, which means pre-processing time, let it take time, no problem, but I want everything to be done properly. Okay, while creating this index, I'm making it off, which means I don't want these features. By default, pre-processing is on. So if you remove this, by default it will do all these three pre-processing steps, which will take little bit of time for it to create index. But yes, my search will be very effective. So it's a recommendation that you don't do pre-processing off, keep it on, so that it does these analysis properly. Okay, so I will not do pre-processing and press F8 and let it create the index for me now. So you see it's taking some time and it got executed finally and it created the index. Let's go back to the table and refresh here. We should see now a new index would have got created for your database table called full text search index. And now your search will work, your same query which you were writing earlier will work fine with your query. Okay, basically with your contain statement, which is a full text search which I'm doing. So I will now copy this query and test it. So now you see, guys, full text search index is available for you. Wow. Yeah, you can see it's available. Superb. So I can come back and now I can just copy this statement, put it in our notepad so you guys can try this later. And let me just apply my query once again, which I was trying earlier, which was not working. And just come here and search, execute, and you will see now Screen is, you see all the results where your screen is there, even capital S is there, it's finding. See guys, amazing. You see, even capital S is there, it is finding. Even small s is there, it is finding. It will find all the places where your S is there. Wow, that's the power of creating full text search index. It creates on all your character columns together, joining them and applying pre-processing helps you to achieve better results. Linguistic search, multiple separator type can be worked, capital small letter, everything, every type of search will work. Yeah, so that's the power of SAP HANA full text search. Now let me show you some more interesting thing. If I do a spelling mistake, that will also now not work with SAP HANA, because it tries to find this particular screen in the system. You see, it's not working. So for that reason, we have a fault tolerant search. In the fault tolerant search, so by default, it's exact. Okay. By the third argument is always exact search. If you find exactly this word, then find it. If you don't find it, then you can put here fuzzy, and you can give how much tolerant this search could be with respect to fault. So if you user have done a spelling mistake, usually how many character of spelling mistake typically a user does? Anyone? How many characters of spelling mistakes you will typically do in a word? Anyone? How much? One word, two word. So you can say 80% accuracy, which means out of 10 characters, you can do two mismatch characters. That's a 80% accuracy. That's called fuzzy search in SAP HANA. Execute it, and now you see even triple E is there. It is still able to find the result for me for screens, because this is a fault tolerant search with 80% accuracy. Even there are some characters which are causing an issue, then is still able to find it. For a specific table, we have to create full text search once throughout the process lifecycle. Yes, you need to do that once. Okay, and remember guys, you do it from ABAP on HANA ADBC. So what statement I've written directly in HANA system, do it with ADBC. Okay, to create that index, so that when your program is ported to quality system, you also port the program which creating the index using ADBC. So before, when your transport reaches, even search will not work in quality because index is not existing there, right? So you have to run that ADBC program which creates the index in the underlying HANA system of that above system, and then your search queries, your search helps, everything will work fine. Is that clear to everybody? Yeah. So make sure that you create this full search text index not on HANA Studio. Create a ADBC report program, put that create statement in ADBC call, and run the report which creates the index in underlying HANA DB. When you transport it to quality, transport your program also, tell your business users to run that program in quality to create, which creates these indexes once for all, and then from further on they can make use of this search capability in the quality and production and so on. Fine. In fact, that's a one-time activity for you. Full text search index, and we saw it how it is getting created. And you see fault tolerant search, which is called fuzzy search. Now I will you make use of this power of fuzzy search and enable this for my above system, where user experience was not that great last time when I did a small mistake with screen, and it kind of messed up. It didn't give me the results which I really wanted, right? So let's make this possible with ABAP on HANA. This is what makes it possible for end users. So I'm going to go back and create new search help first of all, and directly this feature is now available natively in SAP system. But for that, I need a data source to create a search help. Let's create a CDS view as a data source for my search help. So I'm going to right click, say new CDS view. So I say Z CDS search help for products. Okay, so products search help data source, click on finish. This is amazing guys. This feature mesmerizes the user. If you are on a BAP on HANA, of course we are not on here in this case on S4 system, so we can indeed do this here. This is not a limitation for us. Fuzzy search or full text search basically, so which means fuzzy search is just a type of full text search. Okay, so now I say not required, and I'll just give a SQL view name ZSH CDS. and just give here select star from my table name snwd underscore pd table, and that's gonna join it association of one, and then I'm just gonna use is association name to snwd texts table as underscore texts, of course, and then of course my join condition. So I'm going to catch up some properties from my product table as product as prd, let's say. So prd dot product id as product id, then I'm going to just get the category of the product. So product category is going to be my next field as category, and then I'm going to use my association texts dot the text from the text table. Yeah, and then I just come here, and this we will define the join condition basically. So on, and of course I got to also select this primary key of the product table as a node key, and I'm just gonna say in my projection there's a node key which has to match now. So dollar projection dot node key is going to match with this. Oops, I'm doing mistake, guys. It should be the description GUID. Yeah, again I'm doing same mistake which I did last class. That's why your that view was not working. So this node key is basically your description GUID should match with your texts table parent key. Yeah. So this key thing in EPM model is little tricky. So I need to be little careful. Save this. We're good. And you can also have your language column as an AND condition, and your text language dot language equals to dollar session dot system language. That's how you can create it quickly. Your CDS view is ready. Very good. Let's activate it. We are good with our CDS view, and now I'm going to use this as a data source in SC11 to create my search help. SC11, and I'm just going to come back and create a search help and say ZCDS search help product, create a new one for me, and I'm going to use the view which is DD view as my data source for the search help. So I say now I say this is a fuzzy search, and my selection method is my data source name, and I want it with the value restriction dialog box as we typically do. And here I will choose the fields. So my fields are product ID, category, and of course my text. These three properties I want it. Very good. Yeah, nice. And since it's ABAP on HANA, of course, also let's make it import, and only the product ID is export. Screen position and list position. Hope you all know how to create search help. This is basic ABAP knowledge. I expect all of you to know as an ABAPer. And that's it. We are good. Let's activate. Will this change the world for us? The answer is no. This won't change the world for us. Let me use this search help name. Go back and create a data element ZDTE product, and create this data element and just give the name as product and put it as char 10 as a product ID. This data element I'm creating again for product ID, guys. So char 10 as a product ID. Go to further characteristics and give the search help name. Okay, and give the search help parameter as product ID. Okay, and now you create your parameter using this data element, which is now going to hit to the search help which we created custom search help, okay, in your custom program. So let's come back to our program where we had this parameter created. Okay, I forgot the name. Z, anybody remember the name, the program name which we created today? Nobody remembers? Okay, I don't remember too. May do an F4 and tick 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 tick, I don't know. Information system created by today. I want to search for created by today. Sorry. Okay, last changed by created changed on. So changed on will be today's date, of course. Click on OK and say OK. So we will get now that program And this is here it is. Go for change. Why demo sample search? Yes, you're right, Shilpa. So we go inside and create another parameter pointing to this new data element. So parameter, will this change our life? Of course not. I'll show you how you can change your life with this. Put your data element, save this, and now test both the data fields together. So we are more interested in the second one, which we created on top of CDS. I go inside. Now here give the description with screen, and I do a spelling mistake intentionally and do an OK. Okay, watch carefully. It didn't find anything, right? So does this make any change in your life yet? Will that CDS view based search help which we create did help us by any ways? Yes or no? Of course not. Yeah, if it would have helped us, then we would have got some results which is fault tolerant. Now how can that change really for us? So let's go back to SE11 to that search help once again. Okay, so that's my search help, a goal for change. And now you see enhanced options, and you say propose search help for input fields. Select this option and also select multi-column full text search, guys. Database specific, only works with SAP HANA database. Check this option and give your fuzzy search percentage of fault 0.80%. 0.8 means 80% tolerant. Out of 10 words, if 8 words are okay, it will still get you the result. You can do mistakes of 2 characters in a word of 10 characters. That's called 80% accuracy. Save this, automatically done. But prerequisite, you should have the full text index created for that column. If it is, it will work. Of course, we have it. We saw it in our text table. We created the one. I save this, activate it, and now I will show you magic, guys. Automatic magic. No problem. Warnings are coming. That's okay. I can now come F4 and let me do mistake. Star screen triple E star. Okay. Tuck tuck tuck. Nothing happened. I don't know. Let me refresh. I go back to SE38, execute one more time, press F4. Do we see some magic? Let's try. Screen, triple E once again, triple E. Click on OK. No, it's not working. There's something wrong. Remove asterisk. Yes, let's try that. Remove asterisk. Click on OK. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Let me come here and just type S. And wow, you see guys, what an amazing feature. It gives me auto complete. That's one feature which helps you in ABAP on HANA, autocomplete. And you see it's also finding screen where S is capital. It's not a specific character search now, but still in F4 we are not able to get result, but at least wanted to show you this autocomplete. And you see it's also finding the result where S is capital. Okay, so this is one feature, and I just put triple E, and you see still it is finding, guys, all the screen it is able to find. And also it is checking in product category, it is finding. See, that's your fault tolerant search. But I'm wondering why in F4 it is not working. It should have worked in F4 also. There is something wrong, and I think I know the reason for that, probably. So input export text, this is okay. This is okay, guys, and we've given 80% accuracy. Okay, I'm not able to show that actually, but yes, here if you see, even I give triple E, it is still fault tolerant. It is able to find it. But only thing is in F4 it is not working. I'm not sure why in F4 it is not working, but in my system, in when I tried in my S4 system which I have in my company, I tested this example and it was also working here. Okay, triple E, it was working actually for me. So click on OK. It's not working here. Believe me, it works in S4 system also, or any system. Okay, so now it doesn't matter with number of hits, Anshuman, because number of hits only control the number of records fetched. That doesn't matter. And what is this? Not equals to by default? Why? It should be okay. It's contains. That's okay. That's contains operator. That's okay. But I'm little worried why it's not working here, but at least you see the power, guys. At least it's working here to showcase you. It's enough to show the power of full text search in ABAP on HANA. You see, I did a triple E in the field while entering the value, and it auto suggests me all the values where you see even it is finding it screen with double E. It's fault tolerant. So what you need to do in existing system, if you are on ABAP on HANA, enable these two checkbox for existing custom search and just put the fault tolerance value here. Automatically, you would get immediate value of ABAP on HANA in your existing custom search. No need to do anything, and just see if you have at database level for that field a full text search index created or not. If not, then just create it with adbc report. Write an adbc report program, put that hana syntax, create full text search index, and that's it. I'll put this code into our ppt so that you guys can follow the same. Okay, so that's the code for searching as well as creating a full text search index. Hope you will remember this. This is the prerequisite for your full text search and fuzzy search to work. Yeah, great. An amazing session today. Of course, could not show many things in live system because of lag in system, but at least I hope I was able to convey clearly the message, clearly the aspect which I wanted to bring it on table and complete it. Initial plan was not to include S4 HANA CDS, but I did that because I thought it is helpful. If I know something and if I can share, it will be helpful for you some or the other way down the line. Any questions finally before we close our batch on ABAP on HANA? We saw all the capabilities of HANA and also what is new in ABAP with real-time open item analysis scenario in all ways. Yeah, we created a lot of views, we created, consume them, full text search, cds views for s4 analytical apps, lot more things. And I know it's difficult for some of you. You may not remember by far all the things, but please practice. Video recordings are available for you. You can go back, look back the concepts. It was for me also a new experience, first batch with all of you, and you trusted me. Even I'm new to this topic in terms of teaching. You trusted me and still enrolled for it. And I am also starting a next batch on ABAP on HANA tomorrow. Yeah, so you can invite or tell your friends if they are interested to join this course. You will be the first testimonials for me to get feedbacks, to get references, and then of course this will be helpful for you guys to continue in your projects, and especially S4 projects. It's all based on ABAP on HANA. Yeah, it will definitely help you. Great. With that, see you in next course. Hopefully I'll start some more courses and send you guys the invite for the same. Goodbye, and see you in some more upcoming courses. Have a nice day.